Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Continuing our Depthcember feature, we are now playing Green-White Depths. This is a deck that has been pushed to one side since Modern Horizons 3 came out really, but now we've had some bannings, maybe it's time to shine again. I got this particular list off of Doogs on Twitch, who is quite the Green Sun Zenith aficionado, and you should definitely check their stuff out. I will put a link to their channel in the description below. But this is a fair deck for the most part. We're sort of like a fair mid-rangey deck. And we've got a nice little toolbox of lands that allow us to play sort of differing games. And we also have the Dark Depths combo for a slightly more unfair way to play the game. So the main engines of the deck are Knight of the Reliquary and Elvish Reclaimer, which just let us pull out whatever we need. So if we need some Wastelands, or a Karakas, a Bojuka Bog, we can also double up on these effects using the Echoing Deeps. We've got a Sejiri Steppe to protect our creatures. And we've got the Thespian stage Dark Depths combo alongside a couple of those of Saga, which has got some nice tutors like the Lavaspur Boots and the Shadowspear, so we can get our Marrowlage to be hasty or trample over chump blockers. We also have this Green Sun Zenith package, so these creatures are the main things we're going to be going for, but sometimes we might want a Sylvan Safekeeper to protect our creatures. Sometimes we want a Ramunap Excavator so we can put people in the Wasteland lock, which is something I adore doing. We have the Outland Liberator here, which we can use to chip away some annoying permanents. And obviously you can go and find the Dryad Arbor as well. We've got Once Upon a Time to smooth out our early draws. A single Life from the Loam, which sometimes comes up and adds another dimension of the deck so we can play a bit more like a Landsy style deck. We've got the best remover in the format in Swords to Plowshares and Crop Rotation to help find our lands when we need them. We are a Mox Diamond deck, we have a whole bunch of lands here as well. And because we have things like the Ramunap Excavator and the Life from the Loam, we can certainly get back the lost value to the Mox Diamond, as well as it just being a thing that pumps our creatures. And that is the main deck. Sideboard-wise, we've got a lot of tools here. So we've got some Artifacts and Charm and Hate here. We've got a Tower of the Magistrate, which we can use to make Cauldras fall off of creatures, among other things, pushing through Thopters or whatever we need to. Important to note, this is protection from Artifacts, so not protection from Colorless. So it won't protect us from like Eldrazi creatures or whatever, or Kozilek's Command. We've got some Graveyard Hate and Soulgrad Lantern and Surgical Extraction. Obviously, the Lantern can come off of the Urza Saga, as can the Haywire Might if we need some tutorable disruption. A bit more Graveyard Hate and Endurance here. Collector Roof, a couple of Doorkeeper Thralls, a bit more removal, and then Deafening Silence to help with some of these Storm matchups. And of course, Galloc Teague, which we can tutor. It will shut off our Green Sun Zenith, but when we're tutoring for this, it's going to be shutting off like Karn, One Ring, Forge, or Beseech the Mirror Tendrils, that sort of thing. We're going to be able to really shut our opponents down when we are bringing that in. So this is the deck. This is quite a difficult deck to play. There's a lot of decisions to be made. You have so many different tutors at all points at all times, as well as looking at your sequencing of lands and creatures. I'm obviously more towards playing black, green, Dark Depths style decks is more where my heart generally lies. This deck is really cool, and it's beaten me many, many times on the channel. It's a really solid deck, and hopefully it's in a better spot in the meta. So let's find out if it is. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to see my videos early, for just £1 a month, you can do that on YouTube. And I appreciate all the lovely people out there who have done that so far. Okay, plugs over and done with. Let's get some Green-White Depths action going for you all. Right, so on the play, this Mox Diamond not looking great for us here. So we'd have to play this. It has to resolve. We get rid of the Echoing Deeps. We play a guy. I don't think this is where I want to be. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. Although we do have the Life from the Loam. But we have this Crop Rotation we're not really leveraging. I guess turn 1 is go and fetch Dryad Arbor. Turn 2, Loam. This feels not... I think we can do better. We are odds on to hit lands. Maybe we are supposed to keep this. Because we're on the play, our Green Sun Zenith is quite likely to resolve. Okay, I've tricked myself. Well, maybe not tricked myself, but I've convinced myself that this is worth keeping. Let's play this Mox Diamond out. Our opponent will know we don't have another land here. Let's go and get our Dryad Arbor. Should be a really annoying thing for our opponent to counterspell. Right, we're in. Okay, so even if they take out one of these, if we find a land, which is something we have a lot of in our deck, about half of our deck is lands. I think it's 29 lands in this list. Okay, not a Wasteland and not a removal colour. So it's probably just going to be some sort of ponder. Love to find another land here, to be honest. We did find a land. It's not really the one we wanted, but I will take it. So I will play out this Sejiri Steppe. Protect our Dryad Arbor, I guess, from Solitudes or whatever. I will deploy ourselves a lovely little Reclaimer here. So we could hold up the Crop Rotation or we could get 1 point of damage in. I think it's probably better to hold up the Crop Rotation. Because if we get Wastelanded, we can sort of counter it with a crop rotation and actually go and get a land that helps us. Force of Will pitching Sink into Stupor. Okay. I wonder what that tells us about our opponent's deck. Basic Island and Sink into Stupor. Quite an interesting selection. And now we have an Ancient Tomb. I am going to fire this off, getting rid of the Sejiri Steppe. This is a counterable thing. They've already burned a Force of Will here. I get the impression our opponent is on some kind of sneak and show thing. Okay, Transmute Artifact. Okay, some sort of dual combo maybe. Okay, so now we can just resolve this Life from the Loam. We've burned through a lot of our opponent's cards there, so. Alright, so this resolves. We have Echoing Deeps tapped, not the most exciting, or we could have the Sejiri Steppe tapped, also not the most exciting. Or we can have the Echoing Deeps untapped next turn as a colourless source. We don't actually have anything for it to copy in our graveyard, so I guess we play the Steppe this turn. If I cycled away this Sejiri Steppe, I'd probably go and get the Karakas, based on what our opponent's showing us, because they look to be somewhere in that sort of show and tell ballpark. Like mono blue Omnitel, perhaps. I will dredge this. We did find a couple of lands here. I would like these lands. Okay, so we could go get a Elvish Reclaimer. I don't really think that's where our time is best used. So I'm going to play this Windswept Heath, hold up Swords to Plowshares, as well as a Lush Portico at end step. And I believe we're going to crash for 1 damage here. This means we can't play around soft permission like a Daze if we need to Swords to Plowshare. But I don't believe our opponent is playing Dazes, and they certainly don't have one in hand if they're just throwing away Forces of Will. Alright, floating mana off of the City of Traitors. 2, 4, 6, 7 mana. Have you got a big play? Coveted Jewel. So we don't have the Collector Roof in the main deck to deal with this. So they want to play like a copy artifact, yep, and then they get another Coveted Jewel, and they draw some more cards, and then they can play another one. They can just keep doing this until they snowball enough. But if for some reason they can't snowball anymore, then we get a chance to attack them and steal all these Coveted Jewels and draw all the cards. I don't believe that's going to happen. This deck is relatively deterministic when it starts going off. Yeah, so they can turn one of these Coveted Jewels into like a Paradox Engine and then play any spell, and they get to untap these over and over again if they want to. Exactly the line I said. Chalice of the Void. This is just to untap the Coveted Jewels and give them more mana. I'm doing this for 0. It's a free way of untapping. It's 0 mana plus 6 mana. That's a pretty good ritual. Obviously, they had to string some stuff together to make that work. Grim Monolith, yep. This is very much a let's hope we have a Collector Roof somewhere. But before the recent bannings, Legacy was mostly combo decks. It was about 2/3 of the decks were combo decks. And we appear to be facing a combo deck here. Let's see how much the bans have actually impacted the play experience of the format. Now, obviously, the cards that went were things that we needed to go, and we're happy to see them go, but I think they didn't do quite enough. And it might be a little bit tough being a fair deck in this world still. So if they play any spell, they get to untap the One Ring here. Yeah, I think we can probably just scoop this up. They're just going to keep drawing cards and eventually win with whatever they want. They can draw their whole deck, or they got a Karn, or whatever. It doesn't matter. So Gadok Teague is very useful here, as is the Collector Oof. Haywire Might looks good. Deafening Silence looks good. Doorkeeper Thrall looks pretty good because this stops the artifacts entering and doing anything. The Force of Vigors look good. This is not really a Swords to Plowshares matchup. However, our opponent might be able to pop off with a Wormcoil Engine. That's a thing that these decks sometimes have. So we don't need a Bojuka Bog. They're blue. We maybe want the Sejiri Steppe to protect against bounce spells. So I think we keep that in. It's just the Bojuka Bog we get rid of here. And if we get rid of these plows, we just need to make one more cut here. I don't really like the crop rotations into the counterspell deck. So now we have the question of, do we want this Veil of Summer? And do we want any plows in case they have a Wormcoil Engine? Because that is something our opponent can do to us. I think like artifact destruction is going to be enough. And I think I'm just going to get rid of one crop rotation in favour of a Veil of Summer here, just to help force through stuff for their counter magic. Because we need to make sure our Collector Roof resolves, for example, or protect it with a Veil of Summer from bounce spells. The Tower of the Magistrate isn't the most useful here because they're not really targeting us or blocking really with artifacts unless they're doing Urza Saga stuff. But hopefully we'll clean it up with all our Wastelands. And do we need this Sylvan Safekeeper actually? Maybe this could be a single plow just as a nice thing that we have somewhere in our deck. Or we can keep the Safekeeper to protect our oof. This hand looks a lot better to me. I'll keep this. So we're going to be tutoring for some Wastelands as quickly as we can. Just try and keep our opponent in the dirt. Having this one-off plow in our opener is not ideal, but it can take the pressure off if they've got the Worm Coil. It can also take the pressure off of potential Urza Saga constructs, which is one of their backup plans. They seem to have mulliganed to 4 cards, which is pretty good news for us. We need a little bit of help against these unfair decks. Now, Collector Reef is a pretty big game. We've already seen that they've got main deck Sink and Disuse and probably have more effects that can interact with our creatures in the board. We've shown them Green Thumbs there, so they know 100% that we're going to have Collector Reef in our list. Do I want to just put more cards in the graveyard, or do I want to make sure everything can be sacrificed tonight? I think we want everything to be sacrificed tonight. So we're going to bin off one of these Windswept Heaths, and I'm going to play out this Reclaimer holding up a plow, which is unlikely to be a thing that we use, but it's possible. Next turn we can play the Knight, and we're starting to cook. Ancient Tomb is something we can hopefully punish. So I think we just want this Windswept Heath, and we'll crack this. I guess we don't need to crack it right now, but we may as well because it's very good for us to have lands in the graveyard. And it's probably just a Savannah here. So this is either going to be a Hymn to Torak where they Force of Will it and go down to 1 card in hand, or we just end up with one of our best creatures in play. Or it's probably our second best creature. I think the Collector Reef is our actual best creature. Although the little guys that stop creatures entering from doing stuff are pretty cool too. Doorkeeper Thrall. That's the one. I keep forgetting what it's called. Soporific Springs. Alright, so we're going to be wastelanding that and attacking with a 3/4 Reclaimer. I'll play out this Karakas. Float some mana first. Turn it into a Wasteland. Take out a blue source. And then we'll attack and start damaging our opponent's life total. This puts our opponent to 16 and we've got 9 damage on board. So we have a 2-turn clock. If we need to use the Reclaimer, we put our opponent to 13, then our Knight goes to 7. So we'll take an additional turn if we need to wasteland something here. The One Ring. Okay, that does punish our opponent's life total and just gives us a turn to go and get as many lands as we want from our deck because we're not attacking with these creatures for a turn. This might be able to give us lethal on the following turn if we can survive it. I will play this land out and I will... Do I want to wasteland our opponent right now? We could take out the City Traders. I was going to die anyway. I want them to tap the Ancient Tomb. I think we just pass because we also have this Force of Vigor we can fire off. Okay, a blue source. We can't wasteland that. This means I'm 1 mana shy of putting a duel into play. Copy artifact. So we can't actually blow up the One Ring because it's indestructible for reasons. So I guess we just let that come in and they get another One Ring, so they get another trigger because they did cast that spell. They get some more cards. Just get rid of this forest. What are we looking for here? We just go get a Flagstones and just get more mana out. Or we could... So we could get this Flagstones and immediately turn it into something else with the Knight because we have the Yavimaya. So we could go and get like an Urza Saga. That works us towards like a Haywire Might type creature. So we might as well get a Lush Portico. So we're going to search our library anyway, but we can take a card we don't want to draw out of our deck, so we don't really need this. So we can put this into our graveyard. Let's go get this Urza Saga. Work towards having the Haywire Might, which can exile the One Ring. Collector Reef. Okay, so thinning our deck worked out pretty well for us there. We use the Mox Diamond because it's about to be a thing that doesn't do anything to us, for us even. So this could just eat a Source to Plowshares, not Source to Plowshares, a Force of Will. So they don't get to attack because of our opponent's One Ring protection, so we're just passing. So they're going to go down to 12. And we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have plenty of damage next turn. And we can cast this Force of Vigor because we can float mana and then turn one of our lands into something else. Chain of Vapor. Okay. I guess we float some mana here. Go and get that Sejiri Steppe. Protect our Collector Reef from blue spells for a turn. Copy artifacts. So this is going to copy the One Ring. That's fine. We just make a big construct. I say big, it's a 2/2. So they could copy our construct if they wanted to. I don't believe that's the thing they're going to do. They're just going to get the ring protection. But now we can exile the One Ring if we want to here. I'll make another construct because it's pretty much free to at this point. And get the Haywire Might. This doesn't work under the Collect Roof, but if the Collect Roof leaves, then we have access to it. We can't attack our opponent here. Right, they're just scooping it up. Okay, so our opponent did mulligan a lot for us to get to that position, but it did work for us. I think I am pretty happy with where I am. There's an argument for playing the crop rotations so we can get Wastelands, but it just feels super bad. Maybe we'll take one over the Plow and try this. Okay, Force of Vigor is pretty useful, as is Gaddock Teague. I think this is worth keeping. We're probably looking at a turn 1 Lush Portico, and then we can play a different land, like the Wooded Foothills, and get the Gaddock Teague going. So I'll keep this. Because this can get either of our basics, I'm probably going to lead on the Foothills for the Portico. Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith. Yep, that's a card, isn't it? Okay, we drew the Lush Portico. I guess that's what we're doing instead then. Elvish Reclaimer is fine. I don't know if that's exactly where I want to be right now. I don't think it is. I think we can have some better hits. So, Green Sun Zenith being one of them. Now, Gaddock Teague doesn't just shut down what our opponent's doing. It is useful. The One Ring. Yup. That's a card that people get to play. We haven't played a spell yet, have we? Let's have a free Once Upon a Time. This might be able to hit into a Collect Roof. Did not hit into a Collect Roof. I guess we take the Reclaimer because we have plenty of lands here. Just going to get Savannah. This stops some of our opponent's stuff. It stops our ability to go and tutor out a Collect Roof, but this will stop our opponent from Force of Willing our things. It'll stop them from hard casting a Coveted Jewel. Now they can Transmute Artifact because that's a 2-mana spell that then you pay extra mana on. So they can still do that and get what they need to that way. But we are a fair deck. There's only so much we can pull level-wise here. So we have the option of blowing up the Grim Monolith with our Force of Vigor, but I think we're better off trying to snag 2 things. Maybe that's greedy. But if we see something like a key or whatever here, an Urza's Saga. So this is the exact sort of thing that I've been waiting for here. Oh wait, no, we can't cast our own Force of Vigor, can we? Because of our own Gaddock Teague. Yeah, that's awkward, isn't it? Alright. I do think we have to have the Teague in, but it is really awkward in this particular situation. Another Once Upon a Time. I think we fire this off because if we find a Wasteland, I would like to have that in play. Did not find a Wasteland, but we did find a Collect Roof. That is a good one. So I think we are probably just deploying this Reclaimer this turn. Because we won't have the mana to sink into an Urza Saga until next turn. So I think we just play out Reclaimer here. We can get an attack in for 2. It's relevant when our opponent's got things that are hurting them. So it's definitely a fear that our opponent goes pretty wide with some constructs. But worst case scenario, we can block with our Gaddock Teague and then unlock our Force of Vigor. So our opponent is just indexing into Saga tokens. That's not the worst for us. Yeah, you keep drawing those cards. So they're going to be on 8. Making a friend. 1 mana floating. Are they going to copy artifact their construct? They are indeed. Well, they might go for the One Ring here. They are going for the One Ring, sure. Because they know we have this Collect Roof. Will they draw a card or will they just leave it? Okay, they do want the card even though they know we have a Collect Roof. I don't think they can have any counter spells that work on this though. But they might have a bounce spell. Right, so they've got a 3/3. We've got 2 lands in our graveyard. Would like to be able to put another one in there. Did not manage to put another one in there, did we? So what are we up to here? We definitely want to play the Collect Roof. I think the Urza Saga is a key part of making sure that that happens. We can jam the Collect Roof. And then we can activate the Elvish Reclaimer to find something useful, or we can hold up this Veil of Summer. Our opponent has discarded some Chalice of the Voids. They do not work under a Gaddock Teague because they have an X in their cost. Are they making another guy here? It will cost them 2 life, which is a real amount of life here. Okay, they're floating. That's either good or terrible for us, depending on what they find. Hopefully they find something that doesn't do anything. They could get a Pithing Needle here. I'm not going to activate our Reclaimer because it's more important to Veil of Summer to protect our Collect Roof so they don't get to draw a bunch more cards. A Manifold Key. Okay, so once they get rid of our Collect Roof, they're threatening to pop off. They might not have had a card that actually does anything they could find here. Soporific Springs. It's tapped or untapped. 3 life is quite a lot right now. Ooh, they're taking the damage. So this could be a Transmute Artifact on the key into something else. Transmute Artifact. Okay. They're getting rid of their One Ring now. A Chaos Defiler. So this does not target. It's a pretty grisly thing for our opponent to have access to be honest. Yeah, that's some nice tech. But this is choose, so the Veil of Summer doesn't do anything. We could cycle with the Veil of Summer, but I think it's better to Reclaimer and tutor up something to grow our Reclaimer and also have some something useful that we can actually get going with. So we're probably like, we get a Wasteland. We can Wasteland 2 lands because we can play the Ramunap. It means we're not getting any joy from our Urza Saga, but we can exile their Defiler. Oh no, it's non-creature, isn't it, with the Haywire Might. We could get the... We've taken out our equipments, so we don't really have good choices. A Grim Monolith. So this is a lot of mana with the Manifold Key. They still can't cast any like big spells because of the Galactique. But okay, they're just going to go for a Phyrexian Metamorph here. And that's going to copy another thing. Yikes. Yeah, this is sort of like the alternative to Wormcoil Engine. It looks really good. I'll take this Lush Portico out. What are we looking for here? What helps us? The sad truth is I don't think there is anything that helps us out that much. I guess we just take a Wasteland here. So we're probably losing the Teague, I would imagine, but it's possible we lose the Reclaimer. If they blow up the Teague and then they attack, we can give our creature pro black and go through, so our opponent shouldn't attack with this construct. Okay. So you're saying there's a chance we could draw a crop rotation and crop rotate for Sejiri Steppe and kill our opponent dead. That would be lovely, please, deck. I can blow both of these up right now, but then our Reclaimer dies. Is that worth doing? I don't think so. I think we're going to see if we can draw that crop rotation. We did not draw the crop rotation. So we can just strip away our opponent's lands, but how are we beating all these massive yachts our opponent is throwing our way? That is a good question. So we could Wasteland, play Ramunap, Wasteland again. But then we chump block here, we take 10, and we kill them. Manifold Key makes this unblockable, so we're definitely taking 6. So maybe we have to blow both of these up. Maybe our opponent's going to attack and give us a situation where we can blow both of these up and win the game. That is interesting. I think that means I'm playing the Echoing Deeps out here as just a colourless land. Okay, I think that's the line. Our opponent attacks with all of their creatures. We blow up their creature. We swing through for lethal. We can block with a Reclaimer and soak up some damage. That's not the end of the world. But they probably don't attack with everything because we have the Urza Saga as well. But we can see how they do their attacks. Because the Chaos Defilers won't blow up lands. So, okay. They're untapping their Grim Monolith. So their creature is not going to be unblockable. Just a One Ring. Phyrexian Metamorph. So this is going to be another Chaos Defiler. We're going to lose the Reclaimer, but we're going to activate this to make a construct at end step. And then we have Force of Vigor backed by Veil of Summer to make sure that it resolves. Okay. But our Saga is not going to be big enough, is it? So we could turn this into a land. What land can realistically help us in this situation? I don't think there is one. Oakley dokley. So our opponent's on 3. We can attack them for 2 next turn if our plan works. If we draw a land, we can attack them for 3. Which is what has to happen here. So this is lethal. But if we blow both of these up with our Force of Vigor here. Alright, we found a line that I think works. We have to draw a land for this to work. Because this will go down to being a 5 and we take 10. Is Ramunap better for us than a Life from the Loam? Does it matter? Probably not. We just need to draw a land so we have something to imprint on ours or something to discard. Oh yes, here we go. Oh, now we don't need the land. Look at this plan coming together. There's a thing of beauty right there. So these get blown up. They don't blow up any of our permanents. We make a guy, then we make another guy, and then we kill them. We found it. We found the line. You can choose a non-land permanent. We don't have any. We don't really care about its Ancient Tombs. They can't tap it for anything, so there's no point trying to wasteland it. And all we have to do is make a construct and make another construct. We go to 2 here. Alright. Make a friend. Make another friend. We didn't find the Mox Diamond here. We can't find the Mox Diamond in a way that matters. But they are on 2 life because they pitched to the Force of Will. So we did need them to pitch to that Force of Will, or for us to draw a land from the draw we had. Oh, we have a Haywire Might we can find, even better. Let's go to attacks. Alright, we managed to get the match. That felt really good. We had to work very hard, and we were kind of indexed into that line early on about, okay, once they start making big guys, how are we going to win? We need to leverage our Force of Vigor to try and get through their board. And it just worked exactly as we wanted. And we managed to save our clutch Force of Vigor with our one of Fair Summer. Beautiful, I think dudes would be proud. Let's go to round 2. Alright, this opener wants us very much to find a land that we can do something with. But we have 4 looks and a draw step. I think that is fine. Our opponent has mulligan to 5, so we could once again be in combo town. It's kind of how the game feels right now. So we have an option of firing off the Once Upon a Time before our opponent could potentially daze it. But by holding it in hand, we get to see what we draw before we choose what we're getting off the top, because that might inform our decision a bit more. And also, this is... Okay, so I would like this Savannah or this Forest. I think it's the Forest. Savannah does help us, though, with our white mana. We don't have any white spells right now. Our opponent mulligan did nothing on their first turn, so I'm just going to wasteland them. Get away, green mana. We don't want sowing Micro Spawns all up in our business. A basic Forest. Okay, sowing Micro Spawns can be up in our business, I guess. Okay, I will play this Lavaspur Boots. I think haste is going to be more important in the immediate future than Shadowspear. I think Shadowspear is going to be a play and equip type jazz, where we might be able to play a creature that activates and immediately activates it. Ooh, City of Traitors. Don't see that every day in the Eldrazi decks anymore. Glaring Fleshraker, sure. An Elvish Reclaimer. I guess we... I think the play is... Play this Dryad Arbor, equip it with these boots, and then use it to cast this Reclaimer. I don't feel good about passing when they have a Glaring Fleshraker though. They don't have that many cards in hand, but it doesn't take much because of Kozilek's command. Our opponent can kind of go into the combo side of their deck because, yes, Eldrazi is like an aggro-y, mid-rangey type deck, but it also has these just lines that involve pretty much just comboing you, where they just play Fleshrakers and they just cantrip with Kozilek's command into more Kozilek's command, and Ivugin basically makes each one like cost neutral, so they just burn you out. Okay, so far this Ivugin has tapped for 2 mana this turn. Let's see how much it taps for in this turn. We played a league a while ago, and our opponent was, in multiple games, managed to get 8 mana out of an Ivugin in 1 turn. And it was quite an early turn in the game, and I did not have a nice time. Okay, is this going to Micro Spawn? Mulligan? What mulligan? Sure. Okay, so they got 4 mana out of their land so far. That is a pretty good rate. But they might not be done just yet. What land do they get? They could get Cradle here. And then they can cast Kicked Micro Spawn. And you can sort of see how this deck has some features that are rather combo looking. So they could kick a Micro Spawn, which would get them the ability to take out both of our lands. Because for some reason, so Micro Spawn is allowed to blow up basics. I'm not sure on the logic on that one. Okay, no, they're just done there. They're getting their 2 bits in. What is our plan? Draw Swords to Plowshares. That's probably the plan, isn't it? Once Upon a Time. This suggests to me that my opponent doesn't have access to the guy that pumps their team, because I think you do this before you attack if you have the 2-drop that pumps the team, so I'm not going to specifically play around that card. Oh, a Thought Not Seer. Okay, we're going to get Thought Not Seered again. Sure. Sure. So they got 6 mana out of their Ivoogan on 1 turn. That's pretty darn good. We're talking, that's like Tolarian Academy levels of mana right there. And all these spells they're casting are burning us out. And what do we have in play? Just a pathetic selection of creatures, to be honest. Okay, they took the Shadowspear. Okay, they don't even fear our sweet Green Sun Zenith tech. So Ramunap Excavator doesn't do anything here. We don't have anything that matters here. I don't think we can win this one. I'm going to throw the town and save my mental energy for the next game. So, sideboard-wise, I would like to have access to some Path to Exiles, please. These seem pretty handy against what our opponent's throwing down. The Gaddock Teague is an interesting one because it stops Kozilek's Command, which is a really useful card that they use to kind of break what their deck normally would be able to do as being colourless, but then they also get access to having like removal and card manipulation. So there is an argument for this. The problem with doing that is we lose all of our Green Sun Zeniths. So what do we want? We definitely don't need this Bojuka Bog. The Sejiri Steppe is probably pretty bad too. So that just gets us the 2 paths. The Doorkeeper Thrall shuts down the Fleshraker, but it doesn't stop, or it can stop the One Ring if they have the One Ring, where a lot of Eldrazi decks do right now, because if you've got Soul Lands in your deck, you should just play the One Ring at this point. So this can shut down the One Ring, it can shut down Glaring Fleshraker's triggering, it can shut down Thought-Knot Seer. That might be good enough. Let's see what we're removing and then we can work from there. I think the Lavaspur Boots is fine here. It's fine. The Outland Liberator as a one-off is probably pretty reasonable as well. We definitely want the Ramunap. The crop rotations are pretty reasonable too. Maybe it's the Safekeeper that goes. It does protect us from potential Kozilek's Command, but doesn't counter the spell, it just stops part of the spell. And then we need one more cut. I think it might be worth cutting a Dark Depths and we can just shoot a 4-1 and we need it instead. I think that's a plan. Okay, this hand looks pretty keepable. We've got removal. We should be able to find a white mana. We obviously have the Mox Diamond as well. If for some reason we lose the Mox Diamond, we should still be okay. So let's crack this off first. Dark Depths, Thespian stage, Windswept Heath. So we found the white mana. So we'll take that. We'll play this out. I'll bin off the Dryad Arbor, I think, here. I will play this Reclaimer. Then I'll play out the Windswept Heath. This way we can hold up the Source of Plowshares or Lush Portico. There's no point playing a Wasteland because our opponent is going to play the land and immediately get value from it, or they're not going to get anything from it at all. Then we can Wasteland it in our turn. And that's the way to think about it. If you're playing against a deck that has things like Urza's Saga, then there is a reason to play a Wasteland here because you might be able to hit it before it can make mana, which might be relevant. But in terms of this particular game, they're either going to play the land and get the value, so our Wasteland does nothing. It does the same as it would do as if we played it on our next turn. Or they're going to play it, not do anything with it, and then we get to snap it up anyway, which is also good. There's your Dryad Temple they shoot for. Right, they're going to dismember our creature. Okay. That is annoying, but I can live with it. So we're going to go get that Lush Portico. Does expose us a little bit to Wasteland, but I think that's fine. Okay, I would very much like to have more Wastelands. Right, let's get this gone. So we're just going to go and get ourselves another Elvish Reclaimer here. Like, we could just hold that and try and Ramunap our opponent out, but that takes so much mana from where we are now. I would just like to take away our opponent's ability to play the game as much as we can. A basic forest. Okay, I guess we're going to be attacking with our Reclaimer. Flagstones. That's an interesting proposition, isn't it? Like, we definitely want this. Need it right now. If we're attacking with the Reclaimer, then we're definitely playing the Wasteland. We don't need to play this to hold up the plow. Am I wanting to Reclaimer here? Like, what are we finding? And Urza's Saga is okay. Starts chewing out some guys. Maybe that's alright. That's probably slightly better than getting 3 damage here. That might come back to bite us, but I don't think we're trying to play this game as a race. We can if we find ourselves a Knight of the Reliquary. But we have a nice bit of card advantage locked and loaded with this Flagstones that becomes 2 things. There's a temple. We're going to see here like a Fleshraker perhaps. We can just plow that straight up. A Wasteland Battle Mage. I will float some mana. I don't really want to plow this though. I think it's good enough to plow. Get a Savannah here. I think it is the Urza Saga since we already have the Wasteland in hand. Let's get this ticking. Okay, I think we're just going to... I really want to make this construct. I think I'm going to attack for the damage this turn. We can trade some damage backwards and forwards a little bit. Our opponents aren't like reality smashing us. They're just going to snowball this game out of control and have this like near unbeatable late game where they're just playing multiple sowing micro spawns in a turn. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Like if we're just trading a few little chip shots, I think we're okay here. Yeah, that comes in. This Ancient Tomb does help us reduce our opponent's life total though. A Glaring Fleshraker. So we can plow that in our turn. And that way we get the value out of our construct. Let's make a construct here. I will go and get... We could get the... If we get the Lavaspur Boots here. So we have 3/3/3. So this is 9 damage. That's a lot. But we could just get comboed out next turn. That's really annoying. That's an interesting choice. So if we attack for 9 here... So it'll be 10, won't it? It'll put our opponent to 1. And then they'll shut off their Ancient Tomb. Yeah, I think it's the Lavaspur Boots here. That chip shot that we could have gotten earlier. Like, I think it was right to hold up, and we did do the flagstone thing. Let's equip on this. Would you like to go to 1 opponent? Shut off that Ancient Tomb of yours. Because this might just blow up the Fleshraker anyway. Okay. Now, we can still die this turn, which is terrifying to think. From 16, where our opponent only has 1 mana. It's going to be hard. Alright, we did get there. Okay. Let's go back in as we are, I think. So this hand has a piece of removal and a Wasteland and a Once Upon a Time. That is good enough for me. Wouldn't mind a little bit more mana, but that's kind of what the Once Upon a Time is there for. It the Herald's End. So they are running it the Herald's End. That's unexpected. Right, let's have a free spell. Dark Depths Thespian stage is the thing we have access to right now. Is that where I want to be? We're about to crop rotate into a Wasteland, so I think we just want another land. Okay, so I think we're just going to play a Forest. To crop rotate that straight away into a Wasteland. Now, a more experienced player might not do this, and they might go for ramping out with the Green Sun's End to try and stick the Night of the Reliquary on turn 2. Now, I don't know if that's the correct thing to do or not. I am not an aficionado with a deck like this. They got another It That Holds the End. Chalice of the Void, X equals 1. That does shut off our Swords to Plowshares. And our Green Sun's Zenith, X equals 1. So that's certainly a bit irritating for us, but they're not applying extra pressure, which I will definitely take. So we're probably going to jam this and... Do we board out all of our stuff that blows up artifacts here? Or do we leave in the... We did leave in the one guy that we can shoot it for. Outland Liberator. Which I think is correct to leave in that guy. Because that guy is just a fine guy on his own anyway. He can trade with like things like this. And Fleshraker. Okay, they're holding up a K command maybe. K command gets a little sketchier. Do we need this? No, we're looking for Mox Diamond here. Not a Mox Diamond. Okay, how many lands do we have in the graveyard? 1 land, 2 lands, 3 lands. So if we play this Savannah out, our guy will be lethal. We'll be able to beat this in combat. 1, 2, 3, 4 lands in fact. Let's go and get ourselves a 3/4. Biggest thing on the board for now. If they K command here, that obviously sucks for us. But I think we have to get something on the board. We can't just sit there and pass. What if our opponent wastelands us? There's so many levers our opponent could pull to ruin our day. We do have the K command here. They can make 1 token if they want to and get a little bit of damage in and kill our guy. Which is fine. Alright, here we go. It's always really telegraphed when they have a Kozilek's command. But if they're doing this instead of digging, that's not the worst thing in the world for us. So next turn we have a big knight. Okay, we don't have a big knight because of the wasteland. This is what I said before. Unfortunately, they had both things, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. Not attacking with the Eldrazi spawn token, that is an error. Because you can still sacrifice, it doesn't have to tap. So they just missed the point of damage there. Yep, they have the One Ring. I don't know if we're realistically beating that. We didn't board in the Collector Roof just for the One Ring. Maybe we're supposed to have the Haywire Might. Well, it's all going a bit wrong for us here, isn't it? I don't want to play this Yavimaya because it turns our opponent's Ancient Tomb into a more useful land. I think we just play out this Thespian stage. And we can fire off this Once Upon a Time when the time is right. I don't think we're winning this one. The One Ring is just a lot for us to cope with. There's an argument that maybe we should even be running the One Ring. I don't know how you would necessarily fit it in this deck. Okay. Yep, just multiple Wasteland. So we're the one getting Wasteland messed up here. I guess I'll take a Flagstones. There's no point taking a Reclaimer because it just gets countered. I don't want a disappearing land right now. A land that can't be Wastelanded is not the worst thing. At least they're not pressuring us too much, but they've got so many cards pouring in from this One Ring that we're really behind. Okay, I think we are looking at just getting a guy to stem the flow of bleeding here. And then hopefully we can just turn the corner with 2 massive yachts. So we've got the Reclaimer and the Knight. The Knight's going to be enormous. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be a 9 power guy. So it's going to be a 1-hit kill. And we can use the Reclaimer to give it protection, but we can't give it protection for this. And we brought it out of Sejiri Steppe, in fact. We don't have the Talon Gates to like phase their creature out and let us get through. We can't remove anything because of the Chalice keeping back our Plow. Alright, they have the land that taps for all the mana. A Lotus Petal, sure. I think it makes sense to run Lotus Petal over Elvish Spirit Guide now that Depthcember MTG has been banned, because you get to, like, obviously you have to cast Lotus Petal, but it gives you a Fleshraker trigger, which allows you to do like the really broken turn 2 kills. Okay. The Wasteland Battle Mage has bounced our poor little friend. So they're going to have, what, 10 cards next turn? This is just snowballed way beyond our control. I think we're going to play this to make our guy as big as possible. But I don't think it's going to matter here. Like, they can have another Wasteland Battle Mage. They can start Kozilek's commanding our guys out. 9/9 doesn't mean anything if it's still the same mana value and they have all the mana in the world. But this is a 1-hit kill. So if they don't have something, we at least have an option that could win us the game. And that is something we haven't had for this entire game. So we draw Outland Liberator. We blow up the Chalice. We source the Plowshares, their remaining blocker. We swing for enough damage that they die to the One Ring. That's kind of what we're hoping for here. Alright, a Cradle, but it's only tapping for 2. Are we going to see a kicked Microspawn here? We are going to see a kicked Microspawn. So the line that I said before about getting the Liberator isn't going to work here. So probably take out our Savannah and our Lush Portico. So we do have a massive creature. The problem here is we can't connect with it. And we can't clear the way. Now, our opponent might not get a Wasteland. They might get a land that furthers their own game plan here. Okay, they've gone for the Wasteland. In some ways, that's better. Maybe I'm supposed to board in the Haywire Might in this matchup. So we're not getting attacked this turn. But every turn that goes by, our opponent gets closer to finding something like a Devourer of Destiny or another Wasteland Battle Mage that just allows them to pop this and swing for lethal. Going to be a tough one. So we can play the Cradle, the Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. And this gives us the ability to sack either of these. So we can attack right now. Our opponent will block with this, and they have lethal on the crackback. So there's no way we can attack here. Which means our opponent... I guess, no, if we attack here, they block with this, and they can only deal us 5 damage. Or they block with this, they can deal us 5. They block with this, they can deal us 5. The only problem is, if they find another at the Herald's End, we are just dead. If they find another Wasteland Battle Mage, we're dead. If we don't attack. If they find a Devourer of Destiny, we're dead. Do we have any nice lands that we can find? Let's have a look at our list. Is there anything that could help us out here? It doesn't look that way, does it? My Kingdom for a Maze of Ith. So, our opponent is going to take a lot of damage from their own One Ring. I think we are supposed to hold here. And we can also ramp ourselves out using this Flagstones. I don't think attacking there is right, because there's just so many lines that our opponent can win the game with. But I think by not attacking, there's probably an equal amount. And either way, our opponent's on a 2-turn clock because of their One Ring. Okay, a Glaring Fleshraker. So our opponent has 12 cards in hand. They just need to cast a couple of spells and we die. They can't use their Ancient Tomb unless they're using it for green mana here. But we can't tap our Knight of the Reliquary to cycle away our Yavimaya because then they can just swing through. They only need to play a couple of spells and we die. This is a Kozilek's Command. We can hit that big old scoop button. Yeah, the Fleshraker plus Kozilek's Command in sort of like the mid-game just feels like an A plus B combo a lot of the time. And the One Ring is quite the Magic the Gathering card. This is what's actually won this game here. Yeah, that's just lethal. Sure, we got ruined there. So I don't know if we're supposed to try and ramp out to get the Knight of the Reliquary early. That was a thing we could have potentially done. And maybe that works out better for us. I think that was this game where we chose not to do that. And then went for the Elvish Reclaimer later. At the end of the day, I'm not sure it makes a huge amount of difference because they had the Kozilek's Command anyway and they could have used it to blow up our Dryad Arbor anyway. Alright, let's go to round 3. This hand doesn't have any sort of engine or game plan. I think we have to mulligan. Oh, Dark Depths, I know you love me. I'll keep this and I will bottom this Sejiri Steppe. So we do have a line to actually win the game. We have a plan. Our opponent's mulligan to 5, so maybe we can get a Bojuka Bog and that might disrupt what our opponent's doing if there's some sort of graveyard-based combo deck. So we are very much playing out the Savannah and holding it up. I think aggressively Wastelanding might be quite good when our opponent's on reduced resources, but we'll see what they play. Misty Rainforest. Underground Seas. We could be looking at a Reanimator deck. A Dark Ritual. Doomsday. Okay, I don't know that we can ever beat Doomsday in a best of 3. Like, things have to go very, very wrong for our opponent. I think Doomsday is very, very good right now. I think, well, it was a deck that could hang in the Vexing Bauble. It was running Vexing Bauble and Psychic Frog itself in different ways, but it also didn't need to. And there were some people who were just playing the Turbo Doomsday build, which doesn't really run, which didn't run the Frog or anything. Yeah, I'm probably just saying they're new to Doomsday, so we might be able to sneak a win with some Wasteland action our opponent's unprepared for. So the thing about Doomsday is it is very powerful, but it's also very, very difficult. It's a bit like the Epic Storm, where you have people who are absolute experts on it, like Bryant Cook, who has like a 70% win rate with the deck. But your average player on the deck does not have anything close to that. So it's a deck that requires a lot of training and practice. Doomsday is a bit like that. Alright, our opponent has made their pile. Let's have a look. They're on a Turbo Doomsday build. Makes sense, given the Frog is gone. Okay. I think we are just going to be wastelanding our opponent and hoping that works out for us. I'll play this Wasteland out, and then I will crop rotate away this Savannah for another Wasteland. I think that is the best thing to do here. And just hope that we can stop our opponent from winning. Now, they might have a line involving a Lion's Eye Diamond. I can't see the LED in their pile, but they don't have a Consider in there because a Consider is exiled. Okay, so we can Wasteland their land and force them to shuffle. Doesn't seem the most useful thing, though. Does this help us? I don't think it does. So if we do this, it makes our opponent shuffle and they might not be able to win next turn. I hate it, but I think it's correct. This matchup feels abysmal. There's a reason why some people play Abzan Depths for things like the Bowmasters. So now they've shuffled their deck, so we might have bought ourselves another turn to find another Wasteland or crop rotation. We only have one more Wasteland left in our deck. We do have 3 crop rotations. So we got 4 hits in our 51 cards that might be able to win us the game. Okay, they have a Brainstorm. This is over. Unless our opponent's made some horrible mistake. And they said they're new to the deck. Sometimes happens. I know I've certainly made piles with Doomsday that have lost me the game where I could have won if I was better at the deck. So let's see what our opponent has. Cavern of Souls. They have 1 card in their library. They can just play an Oracle this turn and next turn potentially. Yep, that'll do. So, how are we supposed to beat this deck? That is a real question. Bit of a head scratcher. Deafening Silence can sometimes slow them down a bit. Veil of Summer and Endurance have some text in the matchup. I don't really think Adaptive matters here. Artifacts and creatures entering don't cause abilities to trigger. Okay, we would very much like those in the deck. I don't believe we need this Outland Liberator. I don't think we need the Safekeeper either. This probably isn't a matchup for Shadowspear. Lavaspur Boots may be useful, I don't know. Bojuka Bog we definitely don't want. Life from Loam is okay. We don't really want these plows either. So maybe we'll strip another plow and get access to a surgical. It's very unlikely the surgical does anything, but it's going to do more than a plow is, unless our opponent has a shouldered pivot, which is one thing I'm a little bit worried about. Because that used to be the old tech for Turbo Doomsday before Psychic Drug existed. So maybe we'll hedge and have a couple of plows, but we did that before and they were very bad. So do I think we can just beat... We've got a Karakas actually. We've got a Karakas. We'll leave the Karakas in and then we'll get just some creatures that attack. Collect Reef is fine here. It shuts off their Lotus Petals and the Lion's Eye Diamond avenues. I think that's fine. Alternatively, we can have a Sylvan Safekeeper which protects our creatures from removal, like the Doorkeeper Thrall, which I think is probably good enough here. Have the Sylvan Safekeeper just to protect the Thrall. Okay. Like, what are we doing? I don't think we can just mulligan to Doorkeeper Thrall. This is the hand that allows us to do some wastelanding stuff early doors. They don't always just turn one send it. And then we have to keep a hand that has a pretty good game plan for what we're trying to accomplish. Because the truth of the matter is, we're not beating the best Doomsday hands ever with our deck. So we have to have our opponent's hand not be the best so that we can play our own game a little bit. Okay, we're getting him to Turak off of our first card. Not bad. Okay, no turn 1 Doomsday being sent. That's good news. Do I want to play into a Daze here? Just so I can get this Dryad Arbor down? I think I do. Like if they're spending a counter spell on this, they're sending themselves back a turn, and we're ready for a Night for next turn. Alright, we're getting Surveil. This could be Surveil into Daze. Street Wraith. There is a Daze. So the Dryad Arbor into Knight of the Reliquary gives us a better prize for next turn. The Knight of the Reliquary is the stronger of the two cards. Not a surprise, it costs 3 times as much mana. Alright, so our opponent's just playing this land tapped. I think they might have had the Daze on top when they surveilled. Okay, they left the card on top. Doesn't fill me with the most amount of joy. A Wasteland. Do like this Wasteland quite a bit. Alright, let's just start eating away at our opponent's permanents. Like, they've played that same tap land a couple of times now. But if they just go straight up into Doomsday here, I'm going to feel pretty bad. They did not. Right, I think we want to get the Knight out now. So what the Knight gives us is a creature that means that they sometimes won't be able to do a pass a turn pile because this creature will be big enough to just kill them. Now, is that going to be the case in this game? Possibly, because we have the crop rotation, which can just go find a fetch land, so it's +2 straight up. Although we probably just want to find a Wasteland. Our opponents also smashed a bunch of their life into like Street Wraiths and fetch lands, so this can probably win in one connection. I think I would like this Echoing Deeps to be a Wasteland for next turn. So this is 3-4 damage. We can't kill our opponent this turn, so I don't think we need to go as hard. If they have a shouldered pivot, I want to have access to the Karakas, so I'm not going to crack the crop rotation right now. I thought Seize. Intriguing. Let's cast this crop rotation. Let's get a Wasteland. Alright. So that's what I mean. Our opponent didn't have it, so we managed to just do our thing and play a reasonably normal game. I think we just go again. The problem this time is our opponent's on the place. They might just be able to go, oh, you're dead on turn 2. Sometimes turn 1, and there's nothing we can do about it. Pretty cool deck, though. I do like Doomsday. I think it's a cool thing that exists. What does this hand do? We have no way of disrupting our opponent's mana. We don't really have a game plan that's going to win in the sort of time we need, so I think this is going to be a mulligan. Like, we can turn 1 go and get... So we can use the Mox Diamond and go Green Sun Zenith on turn 1 for Elvish Reclaimer, then turn 2 the Reclaimer can tutor, and turn 3 we use a Wasteland. I don't think that's good enough. Once upon a time, a couple of Wastelands. I think we keep this. I don't really want this Dryad Arbor. Alright, no turn 1 sending of the Doomsday. Good news for us. Let's cast a free spell. Okay, Doorkeeper Thrall is very good here. We don't have the white mana to cast it just yet. We could just get a Wasteland and just do that. I think... Are we just getting the Reclaimer here? That seems a little on the weak side. I think we get a Doorkeeper Thrall. This is now telegraphed that we have it, though, which is not ideal. This is very much one of the matchups that the Doorkeeper Thrall is for. Because it's so bad, we have two cards that are pretty much just for that map. Like, there's other stuff where they're fine as well. But this is going to be where they shine most. Dark Ritual, you say? An Entomb. I see. And me without my Bojuka Bog. Let's have a look to see what we've got here. Bojuka Bog into the sideboard. A Grizzled Brand. Let's try and get a Karakas, I guess. If they just counterspell this, I think we just die. Brainstorm, okay. So they're expecting us to have a Bojuka Bog. We do not have a Bojuka Bog. Maybe they scoop if they can't counter our rotation. Okay, so we go and get the... Oh, let's make this bigger because I can't see it. There it is. So not the best one. Draw 7 cards. I will bounce this now. So we just have to hit our opponent for 4. Now they should be able to just cast a bunch of stuff and probably... Well, they only have 8 cards. So they might not have a combo or a line to win here. I think they would have countered... I guess we don't know if they have another counterspell coming. Because they just drew a bunch of cards. Guess we're on that Doorkeeper Thrall train. I'd ideally like to cast this Doorkeeper Thrall around a daze. But our mana's kind of spoken for next turn because we want the Urza Saga to pop. So I guess we are playing the Doorkeeper Thrall this turn and hoping that it does something. So Reanimating Grizzled Brand will have to be with something like Animate Dead, but then we can just bounce it anyway. Ponder, sure. We have the Lavaspur Boots, but this is also lethal on its own anyway, because it'll be a 3-3. Oh, wow, we got the match. Yeah. Should have went for Archon. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the Grizzled Brand drawing 7, I think, is the correct play most of the time there. It just didn't work out for them. All right, we got a match against a very hard matchup. Let's go to round 4. This hand certainly plays our regular game plan quite effectively. I will keep this. We have a line to the combo. We also just have a pretty reasonable chance of just playing like Reclaimer into good stuff here. So we play this out. We don't have the mana next turn, even if we wanted to. So don't want to expose something to Wasteland. We already have the Mox Diamond. They can't take both out. I think that's fine. They're going to have other problems to deal with if our Reclaimer sticks here. When the format was slower, an unchecked Reclaimer was a terrifying sight. But the problem is every deck just has a combo in it now. So it's very difficult for us to get through. Eldrazi isn't a full-on combo deck, but it has something that resembles, like, 80% of a combo at times. But that's, like, not the main part of the deck. But it's very much an I win button they have in their deck, though. And so far we play against 3 decks that have the I win sort of button. Alright, Trokair Island. We're almost certainly playing against Nadu because I think that deck is absolutely busted right now. Whether it's Breakfast or Elves or Zenith, we don't know. But we're going to find out. A Lush Portico. So we could just wasteland our opponent and crack for 3. I don't hate wastelanding our opponent and cracking for 3 here. So we could just go and get a Flagstones. Or we could have held up to get another Wasteland. But we'll see. Did our opponent keep the 1 lander? Or they just got so many lands they're having to choose. Okay, they got another one. Our opponent could be Infect, I guess. You don't see a lot of that though. But whenever there's a format change, a few people try it out. It's a deck a lot of people love. It's probably all those days many years ago watching Tom Ross playing Infect. I don't think our opponent is running Infect. I think the chances of them running Infect are very low when there's some very good Tropical Island based decks in the meta right now. I want to keep their Ponder. Kind of wish we didn't attack with our guy now on the previous turn. A Tundra. We could be looking at... It's unlikely we're seeing some sort of Dreadnought deck. A Prismatic Ending, you say. Do I want to keep my creature here, or do I want to get a Dark Depths up and running? I think I'm going to go for Dark Depths. That says a lot about me as a person, though, I think. Shuka. Okay, so we're on breakfast. So we have the pocket Bojuka Bog here. Ah, pretty close to doing what we want to do, but not quite there. We need a Yavimaya this turn. That would be handy. Okay, let's see if our pocket crop rotation works here. So the other thing we have is our opponent could just hold up a Swords to Plowshares. We don't have the mana to defend against that just yet. A Nomads and Core, sure. A Cephalid Illusionist, okay. They don't have the mana for the Memory's Journey here. So we get to play the fun game of, can we kill them with a Bojuka Bog? We also get to look at their deck here. Yep, there's some Nadis. So if you ask me what the best deck in the format is, I would say it is probably Nadi Breakfast. That is my gut reaction. I thought that deck was at least on par with the decks that got bannings. And I have been recommending this deck for the last couple of Eternal Weekends. And it did win one of the Eternal Weekends, so... Alright. Not seeing many Force of Wills in there. Okay, 2 Force of Wills have just been milled. We can't beat a Force of Will here. We can beat a Daze. There's a 3rd Force of Will. Are they running just a 3 Force of Will build? Almost certainly not. Let's cast the one thing that we have that we can do. Maybe they don't have a blue card. They do have the Force of Will, so we lose the game. Okay. Not ideal. So, Doorkeeper Thrall comes in for this one. We also would like some removal spells. Graveyard Hate is useful here. So we have this Saga Lantern. The Galaxy can stop the combo from them. But it's not the best way of stopping the combo, to be honest. I don't mind having Endurance here. Deafening Silence has some use here, but not a lot, to be honest. Collector Roof can stop some stuff. Force of Vigor can blow up Urza, Saga, and Shuko, potentially. So these are a maybe. Do I need Lavaspur Boots, Shadowspear? I don't think that's what this game is about. I think we need to control our opponent's resources. I like having a Safekeeper. I don't think we touch any of our lands here. I think we want them all. Our opponent's mana base is relatively susceptible. Is this a crop rotation matchup? We kind of need it for the Bojuka Bog, but it does feel really bad into the blue decks. This is a tough call. I like having a Liberator here. Life from Loam is something we can definitely leverage and just keep our opponent in the dirt. Yeah, it's a really tough choice what we're supposed to be sideboarding for this matchup. So we're boarding in a creature that is pretty good, so it kind of incentivizes us to get Once Upon a Time. But this only stops one half of their deck, so maybe is this a ridiculous thing to do to take these out? Possibly. Maybe we don't want the Loam, we just want the Ramunap. We've got some paths here. Safekeeper. Safekeeper can keep our Doorkeeper Troll safe, but I guess that's not the most important thing. We can also keep our Marit Lage safe, or our Knight of the Reliquary safe. That feels good. Maybe I'll trim one crop rotation because it's so bad into counter magic. Yeah, maybe this is awful. Like, we've boarded in like 4 cards that don't get hit by Once Upon a Time. But we have boarded in 3 that do. Not sure how I feel about that one. I'm not really an expert with these decks. Like I said, I'm more of a green-black variance player. What do we do here? No removal. We play a 3-drop that is just a 2-2. I think we can do better than this. I think we need to come out the gates a little faster. Okay, I'll keep this as a removal spell. Are we keeping the Knight? Or are we keeping the Ramunap? Like, Ramunap automatically gets value from where we're at right here. And Knights are easier to find in our deck anyway. So this allows us to plow around the days if we want to. Maybe we're supposed to hold on to the Mox Diamond. But this way our Mox Diamond doesn't get dazed. It might get Prismatic Endinged, which is the problem. Okay, a Tropical Island. We're not getting Prismatic Endinged. Okay, that's a pretty annoying card. Do we have to immediately answer this? Or do we save our removal? Cool, I think I'm just going to answer this when they don't have Brainstorm available. We'll leave this uncracked. If this dies, then we'll go and get a Lush Portico. Actually, I have to pay for days now. Yes, please. I would like a land as well. But I'll take a removal spell and sit on what I'm able to sit on here. Feels like our opponent can have a jolly good time into what we're doing here. They've got all the right answers in their deck, and they've just got multiple I win buttons. And all of our grinding our opponent's resources down looks pretty foolish if our opponent just gets to start doing Nardu stuff and they just rip a load of lands off the top of their deck. A Cephalid Illusionist. I am going to kill this just to be mana efficient, because we might want to Ramunap next turn. There's an argument to try and surgically extract this while we can play around days. I don't want to do that though. I like to draw land and just play Ramunap. Okay, a Doorkeeper Thrall. That's an interesting one to have access to. I'm not expecting to get done by this Saga. Yeah, I don't think we hit the Nomads because they got Shuko coming. I think I will fire in this Thrall right now. Gets us a little bit of pressure. So it stops Thassa's Oracle out of the graveyard. Doesn't really stop the rest of their deck, which is the problem with Breakfast because it has two different combos going. Okay, we've drawn some more removal. That's something, I guess. Making a construct, sure. Because they're going to go get an artifact here, there's no way we could have held back the Doorkeeper Thrall in a useful fashion to then like block and kill the other guy and then kill the construct. If they have, okay, a Pithing Needle, that's probably going to be Wasteland because their mana base is a little sketchy over there. There it is, Wasteland. Flooded Strand. So we could hit the Urza Sagas if that's the thing we're worried about. I don't think it is. Prismatic Gang on our Mox Diamond though. That is definitely a thing that I said could happen, and it feels horrible. Just not drawing lands in our like 50% land deck. Outland Liberator. Now we're not blocking here, so I guess we're attacking. My opponent's just going to beat us down with this backup fair plan that they also have in their two different combo line deck. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, so they've got two different counter spells in their deck. So they've got Force of Wills and Dazes to back up two different combos. One that automatically wins the game, one that basically automatically wins the game in the form of the Nardu combo. And one uses a graveyard, one doesn't. It's just a lot. What are we doing here? We could go and get a Dryad Arbor, or we could blow one of these up and save some life. I don't know how we win this game. Alright, I think we need some more mana. If our opponent dazes, I think I just scoop it up at that point. Alright, I didn't daze it. Am I holding back the Thrall? I think so. It stops the Nomads attacking us. Does it stop the Nomads attacking us? I can just ping the damage across. Alright, they're just plowing that guy. I think we can just scoop this one up. We're not winning that one. We got absolutely crushed. I think this deck is too good right now, to be honest. That's my initial reaction. I thought Nardu should have gone with the other cards. And the fact that it's still here means I think whatever the best Nardu deck is probably the best deck in the format. Alright, we are 4 rounds in. We are 2-2. So the positive record is on the line. Let's see if we can finally get some sweet 2020 action and win a game with it. On the play, and is not great. We've got some decent removal though, and we have Once Upon a Time to hopefully bail us out, so I'm going to keep this one. We did board out Once Upon a Time the last round and got mana screwed, so maybe there is something to that. Always look for ways that you can play better. Like, I could just go and get a Reclaimer. We can worry about trying to make a Marriage later. I'm just going to play this Yavimaya to get the Reclaimer down. I don't want to play out the Mox Diamond just yet. We don't have to worry about Vexing Bauble anymore. It's unlikely we need to plow in the first turn. It's not impossible though. Our creature got plowed. For basic planes, what does that tell us about our opponent's deck? Are they Death and Taxes? Or are they like a control style deck? Delighted Halfling. Nope, they're a combo deck. Why did we ever think they were anything else? So this is the Nardu Zenith build. Most likely. Let's get a Lush Portico. Try and find some action here. This dark decks probably have to become some mana. Like if they are a creature combo deck, I guess we just keep plowing all of their things, and that's fine. That's certainly a way of playing Magic the Gathering, isn't it? Do we plow this, or do we plow the thing that comes out of it? That old chestnut. I think we are going to play this Mox Diamond now, so we can get this. Because we have so many, I think we're just going to plow now and later. We use the Mox Diamond in case they have Prismatic Ending. I don't think they're going to have Wasteland in their deck. It's not impossible. Certainly feeling like a Nardu Zenith. They're going to get all basics here. Yep. So it's just going to be Nardu. It's Teferi. Okay. They can bounce our Mox Diamond. That's pretty gross. They decided not to do that. Awfully kind of you, opponents. Knight of the Reliquary. So now they're just going to bounce our Knight of the Reliquary. We can't interact on their turn anyway. It's like Vexing Bauble, isn't it? We just don't get to interact. I've seen somebody make the comparison of Teferi to Vexing Bauble. I think Teferi and Vexing Bauble aren't really comparative because Teferi is a 3-drop, so it comes down a lot later in the game. But it does... Okay, are we just going to see the Nadu into the Nomads? We are. And, you know, Teferi, I don't think it's a very nice card. I don't like the design of it very much. But I don't think it's something to be worried about like Vexing Bauble was just yet. Okay, so here comes the Nadu. So they get to draw 4 cards every turn cycle. Can we realistically beat this? If they show us a Force of Will, we can't. Okay. There is the Force of Will. What are we supposed to do? I think it's a big ask to be playing like a Green Sun Zenith deck that doesn't have Nadu in, if I'm being perfectly honest. I would like some more removal. That's step 1. Veil's Summer can help us punch through counters, but I don't really think that's actually that important. Their creatures aren't going to end up in the bins. We can't like try and get the Nadu and so to extract it. The Galaxy just shuts off their forces, but it shuts off our Green Sun Zenith, which I think is worse for us. This isn't the Bojuka Bog matchup. So get rid of that one. Don't like the Mox Diamond into Teferi very much. I'll trim back on that. Okay, I think this is where we're at. I don't like it. So we can keep this hand and work towards a 2020, but that's very bad against the Nadu decks, really. Just doing the Merit Age thing. It's not like we can fully protect it and send it early. So I think we have to mulligan something better. Something that can play spells, maybe. Let's mulligan. Okay, now this is a much better hand. We'll keep this. I don't think I want the Dark Depths. And I think I get rid of this Shadowspear. Yeah, there is 3 main Nadu archetypes at the moment. Cephalid Breakfast, the Zenith build that we're playing against now, which plays a little bit like a control deck that just has this Nadu Flourish in it. And then there's the Elves deck, which is like Natural Order, loads of little dorks powering out your combo. Alright, so far we are just replaying game 1. And that didn't go well for us. So I could play the Saga and start cranking out tokens. Or I could play the Karakas and then have the Knight and then start cranking out tokens and getting the value. I think I want the value, so I'm going to play out the Karakas here. Because we're low on resources and our opponent is more like a control deck with a Nadu in, rather than we're just going to bust out this combo and kill you. I think personally for me, I think this is the weakest build of Nadu. I don't know if that's changed now with the bannings though, but I think the Nadu thing is such a broken thing to be doing, you want to be focusing on it more, rather than just having it as a thing in your deck. So if we pass to exile this, it's exactly the same as leaving it be. So I guess we're just going to go... We didn't board anything exciting to Green Sun Zenith for, did we? Just get this Knight. So they can just Teferi. Oh, we got Force of Will. Sure. But now we can start grinding some Saga value. But they could play Nadu and Nomads this turn and we just have to scoop. Because they're going to be drawing 6 cards in their turn and 6 cards in our turn. And Green Sun Zenith. Okay, so getting a Nadu, but they're not immediately doing anything with it. We do have the Karakas to bounce it. Would like to find a land so we can still make constructs. Why would we find a land? Okay, I think we just try and get rid of this. A little Lush Portico for them. So even though we're answering this, they're still up on cards. And because it's a path, they're up on 2 cards. Yikes. I guess we could play this and then maybe attack with a construct next turn, or we could just get the... If we go get the Reclaimer here, then we can cycle the Urza Saga away with its trigger on the stack, so that we're not just completely losing a land and we're getting some resource back out of it, as well as whatever it tutors for. A Brainstorm, sure. Sylvan Safekeeper, that's the end of our removal working. We're going to go get another Nadu, because their deck effectively has 8 copies, and if they want to, they can just start targeting it with Safekeeper. I don't think making anything here is going to help. I think we're just going to cycle away our Saga. How do we try and win this game? Maybe we just hope they don't hit into their guy. This feels so miserable. Urza Saga, sure. Get that running. We tutor 4. We get a Shadowspear. And then also play the Lavaspur Boots here. Do I want to keep my Karakas up? I guess. Doesn't feel great here. So I guess if they ping off on the Nadu, we Karakas it. I've definitely been in situations with Nadu and Sylvan Safekeeper where I've sacrificed stuff a little bit too deeply. A to Ferry. Yeah, they can bounce our Saga, they can bounce our anything they want really. So they are targeting their own Delighted Halfling. Sure. Why shouldn't they draw 2 cards? Doesn't feel like we're playing the same game here, does it? Got a Brainstorm going with a fetch land up. They can redeploy that Halfling if they want to. As soon as they find a Nomad, this game just ends. Hedge Maze, they're looking for it. And if they find it, they can sacrifice to Safekeeper like this. Targeting Safekeeper. They reveal another Nadu. And a Ponder. So I think they're going to cast this Ponder before doing anything else. It's interesting they're deciding to try and go for it when they've already got so much control of this game. But I think that kind of shows you how powerful Nadu stuff is. That you can just heavily index into doing it, and it's usually worthwhile. Delighted Halfling, sure. Another Delighted Halfling. Okay, Nadu, you can go home. Noble Hierarch, sure. It's another guy. Right, just going to protect that guy. And now they've got a Forcible backing it up. What are we doing? There's no way we can beat this deck. No way. Yikes, that was brutal. So we finished 2 and 3 in this league, and we played against all combo decks. And, well, we played against 4 combo decks in Eldrazi, right? And Eldrazi does have like a little combo-ish flourish with it in terms of the Kozilek's Command plus Fleshraker, or sometimes it just has the Bananas turns where it's like can kill you on turn 2 or so Microspawn you on turn 2 or something gross. So yeah, kind of shows you a little bit right now. Now our deck is a combo deck of sorts because we do have the Dark Depths combo, but when you're putting the Dark Depths combo in a sort of fair mid-range shell like this, it just becomes a lever you can pull that's slow, so it doesn't feel that combo-y, it's just like another thing that you have access to, and generally it's not going to win you the game. I don't actually think these sort of slower Dark Depths decks are in a great position given the combo-centric nature of the meta and how difficult it can be for a green-white deck to attack that. Obviously I prefer the Turbo Depths because, you know, your game plan can race like a Nadu or whatever, whereas we're not really racing, we need to interact with them. And interacting with a Nadu deck usually favours the Nadu player because they're getting a bunch of triggers and stuff like that as well. Now, sure, sometimes we can get in underneath them, waste down them a bunch, and have a lovely time. But I'm not sure this is the configuration I would try and play if I was playing this. I think I would probably trim down 1 Depths and 1 Thespian stage to get in another Wasteland and a Maze of Ith. We did want the Maze of Ith against Eldrazi. It could have helped. I think that would be an interesting starting point because I think the Dark Depths combo right now is, in a slow, fairer deck, is not really where you want to be. And I think a format where this sort of deck doesn't feel great isn't necessarily the best format you could be playing. I would like this deck to be viable. Obviously, I hate playing against this as the green-white Depths, as the Turbo Depths player. It's pretty miserable. But I think this is the sort of fair, grindy deck that should be a big part of Legacy, right? It should be something that you can do if you want to be doing it. And it feels like in a field where the majority of the decks are combo decks, it's a little bit awkward for us. Now, we do have some things like Collector Reef can help. That is very good against certain combo decks. Same with Gadok Teague, it's very good against certain combo decks. The problem is the combo decks are so vast right now. It's a bit like Modern back in the bad old days. I don't know what Modern is like now. I don't play Modern, I haven't for a long time. But back in the bad old days, you would turn up to a Modern tournament, most of the people would be playing some sort of combo deck, and you would have to hope that you had the right sideboard for the matchups you faced. And you couldn't beat all the combo decks, you just had to hope you fought the right ones. And it wasn't particularly fun or interactive Magic back then. And it feels a little bit like we are in a similar spot with Legacy. Now, obviously, there is more interaction in Legacy, so we do have different levers to pull. But when we're playing a deck like this, we have far few of those levers to reach for. So I'm not feeling amazing about this particular build. or this particular deck right now. What I will say is there are some people out there who are splashing other colours to try and help. And you can do that. You can go into red and have a bunch of Pyroblasts, which I think are pretty reasonable when you're looking at things like Cephalid Breakfast and Nadu. But the problem with some of the Nadu decks is they're not casting the Nadu, they're just Green Sun's anything for it. So you can't Pyroblast it until it's in play, and then they're already getting value. Or they just have a Cavern of Souls naming wizard, and then you don't get to Pyroblast until it's in play. So not always the best option there. And this is not a deck that we're running that can run something like Cursed Totem, which is a really good hate card for Nadu, because it shuts off all of their bits and pieces, right? Now, they can still win in Cephalid Breakfast because of the power of Shuko, can just do the thing. But it shuts down the Nomads builds, which is the green, white, blue Zenith deck, and then the Elves build. So you can shut down 2 of them. And you can shut down a chunk of the Cephalid Breakfast, so it's still a reasonable card to have. But like I said, it's not a card we can play here because we're trying to leverage creature abilities. I can't remember who it was who said that playing Knight of the Reliquary as your Green Sun Zenith target in a world of Nadu is just not really viable, and that Nadu is kind of shrinking the format and pushing stuff out. That's what they were saying before the bans. I don't know how things are going to change. I suspect not very much, just seeing more and more Nadu. And I still think some of the decks that were good before, like Mystic Forge, still seems pretty strong to me. Yes, you can run into counter magic, but you get to run 2 more payoffs and maybe you have like 2 defense grids, and then you're kind of similar-ish. Maybe you're going to be a turn or 2 slower because you have to play through counter magic. But it means that if you're playing all these combo decks like this that don't have the counter magic are just going to be having a really rough time with it. The other splash colour that people are running at the moment is black for Orcish Bowmasters, which can certainly help against things like Doomsday, which I think is an interesting one. And then it gives you access to things like Thoughtseize, so you can try and pick apart the hands of other stuff. Now, my problem with the splash builds is the mana becomes very fragile. And when you go against Eldrazi and stuff, they can take off colours a lot more easily than you would necessarily like. I think if you are good at playing these green-white depth strategies, then you might be good enough to play a splash build. I am not good enough at playing them to play the splash builds that well, because you really have to know like all your numbers of how things are going to go and when you're fetching and what the right percentages are for when you need to get a basic and a non-basic. And I just don't have the reps with this deck to be able to do that. But I know there's a few faithful people out there who love jamming this deck, and I really wish them luck and hope that they can find a way through. But if we're going to remain at a 60% combo format, or 66% combo format, as it was among the top 15 decks like last week, I'm not sure that's going to be changing this week. I think we might see a little bit more control, we might see a little bit more bug beans and stuff like that. But I think every deck probably wants to have like a little combo flourish. We do have one ourselves, but like I said, it's not quite the same. Like the Lavaspur Boots aren't really doing it for us. I think Lands is in a better spot than this because Lands is faster at doing what it does and oppressing your opponents, and it can also play things like Cursed Totem in the sideboard. So I think Lands is the better sort of strategy that looks a little bit like this. Having exploration and access to things like Cursed Totem and stuff out the board feels like a reasonable place to be. Is it as good as all these big combo decks? Uncertain, really. You can combo on turn 2 with lands with the Marit Lage, that is something. But yeah, tough time for Green Sun Zenith enjoyers, unless they enjoy Nadu, basically. Alright, I think I've rambled about this one quite enough. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out and doesn't cost you anything. And if you do want to spend money, you can do that too. I've got a Patreon, I've got a YouTube membership. Feel free to throw some Christmas presents my way if that's your jam. But most importantly, just keep enjoying the wonderful Dark Depths action we are bringing to you. Today was not very Dark Depths centric, I'm afraid. But we'll see what we can do for the next week or 2 weeks, I think we've got left of the month. Alright, thanks for watching and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.